Hey folks, welcome to the part 6.3 of this 3-move course. In this lesson, we're going to teach you about the game market contract. Okay, so first of all, we'll give you the introduction, then we'll delve into the game market contract. After that, we'll do some deployment and also the testing. And finally, we'll give you an exercise. Alright. So the game market contract provides a basic framework for a game item marketplace, where users can list items for sale, buy items, and collect profits for themselves. Let's start with the game market contract. This section of the codes is the beginning of the game market module and includes the important statements for the various libraries and modules that will be used throughout the contract. And this part of the code defines two constants that represent the error codes for specific situations in the contract. So for the E amount incorrect, this is used when the amount paid does not match the expected. And for E not owner is used when someone tries to delist without the proper ownership. Okay, and here are two structures, the game market and also the game listing. So for the game market, this is a shared object that can be created by anyone using the create function. It's an instance of the game market and accepts only one type of the coin for all the listings. And as we can see here, it has three parameters. The first one is the ID, which is a unique identifier for the marketplace. And the second one is the game items, which is a bag or the collection of the game items available in the marketplace. And the third one is the table. Is the payments, and this payment is a table data structure. So it's a table that maps the address to the respective coins for the respective payments. And then we have the game listing. So game listing is a single listing which contains listed items, also its price. And it also has three parameters. So the unique identifier for the listing, also the asking price for the listed items. And lastly, we have the owner, which is the address to represent the address of the owner of the listed items. And here we have the create function. So create function basically is a public entry function that will create a new shared game market. Okay, let's give details of this function. So it is a generic function that types type parameter coin, which represents the type of the coin that the marketplace will accept for the transactions. The function also takes a mutable reference to the transaction context object, which represents the context of the transaction in which the function is called. And for this line, this creates a new unique identifier for the marketplace. And this one creates a new empty bag to store the game items that will be listed in the marketplace. And let payments assigned to blah blah blah. So this line creates a new empty table to store the payments made in the marketplace. And the tables maps the address to the respective payments in the form of the coins. And for the transfer share object, basically transforms this game market into a share objects, meaning everyone can be accessible to it. So in summary, this function initializes a new game market with a unique ID, an empty bag for the game items, also the empty table for payments, and then makes the game market object into a shared ones. And this is the list function. Basically allows anyone to list an item at the game market. So here's a breakdown of what this function does. Let item ID assigned to the object ID of the item. So this line retrieves the unique identifier of the item that is to be listed. And let game listing assigned to this section. So this line creates a new game listing object and the ask field is set to the asking price passing into the function. The ID field is set to a new identifier, and the owner field is set to the address of the sender of the transaction. And for this line adds the item to the game listing object. The true argument indicates that the item is being added to the game listing object dynamic object field. And for the last line, so the last line adds a game listing object to the game items back of the game market. The game listing object is associated with the item's unique identifier in the back. So we have the list function, we also have the delist function. And basically, it's an internal function to remove the listing and get the item back. But only the item's owner can perform this execution. And here's a breakdown of what this function does. So for this section, like game listing, and this is basically the deconstruction. So this line removes the game listing associated with the given item ID from the game items back of the game market. The removed game listing is deconstructed into the ID, owner, and ask fields. The ask field is ignored with a placeholder here because it's not used in this function. And the assertion here. So this line checks that if the sender of the transaction is equal to the owner of the item. If not, then the error code e-not-owner will be thrown out. And then let item assigned to the field remove mutable ID and true. So this line removes the item from the game listing object dynamic object field. And this line basically just deletes the game listing object. And finally, we'll return this item. So in summary, this function allows the owner of a listed item to remove the listing and get the item back. It does so by first removing the game listing from the game items back of the game market, checking that the sender of the transaction is exactly the owner of the item, then removing the item from the game listing and deleting the game listing. So this function, delete and take, is basically take back the item after you delete the items from the game list. So let's see the breakdowns of this function. First of all, it will let the item assigned to the delist function. So this line basically just calls the delist function, which removes the listing from the game market and returns the item. The delist function checks if the sender of the transaction is the owner of the item and throws an error if not. Then we'll use the transfer public transfer function to transfer the item back to the sender of the transaction. So in summary, this function allows the owner of a listed item to remove the listing and take back the item. It does so by calling the delist function to remove the listing and return the item, and then transferring the item back to the owner. And this is the buy function. So the function is an internal function that allows the user to purchase an item from the game market. And here's a breakdown of the function does. So first of all, it'll let the game listing assigned to the back remove mutable game market and also the item ID. So this block removes the game listing from the game items back in the game market and returns the game listing. The game listing contains the ID of the item, also the price of the item and the owner of it. Then it has assertion to assert that the amount paid matches the asking price of the item. If the amount do not match, then it throws an error. The next block of codes check if there's already a coin object associated with the owner's address in the payment table of the game market. If there is, it merges the pay amount within the existing coin object. If there isn't, it adds a new entry to the payment table with the owner's address as the key, also the pay amount as a value. And after that, it will remove the item from the game listing and delete the game listing. Finally, the function returns the item. So in summary, this function allows the user to purchase an item from the game market by removing the game listing from the game listing bag and checking if the amount paid matches the asking price, updating the payments table, and return the item. Then we have the buy and take function, which is basically just a purchase function, which allow the user to purchase an item from the game market and have it transferred to them. And let's say the breakdown of this function. So the buy function calls a buy function, and which was explained in the previous response. So the buy function just removes the item from the game market, checks if the amount paid matches the asking price, updating the payment table, and returns an item. Then public transfer function, which just transfer the item that was returned by the buy function to the sender of the transaction. And then the sender is retrieved from the transaction context sender. So in summary, this function allows the user to purchase an item from the game market and have it transferred to them in one transaction. Finally is the take profit function. So it's an internal function to take the profits from selling items on the game market. And here's a breakdown of what this function does. So first of all, the table remove function removes entry in the payments table that corresponds to the sender of the transaction. The payments table stores the profits from selling items on the market, and the function returns a coin object that was removed from the payment table. The take profits and keep function is a public entry function that allows the owner of the game market to take the profits from selling items on the market and keep them. And here is a breakdown. So the take profits function, like we explained above, the take profits function removes the entry in the payment table. And then the public transfer function basically just transfer the coin object that was returned by the take profit to the sender of the transaction. Then the sender is retrieved from the transaction context sender. So in summary, the take profits and keep function allows the owner of the game market to take the profits from selling the items on the market and keep them in one transaction. Next, we'll do the deployment and also the testing. So following this, we have the ability to deploy and evaluate our game market contract using the Sui command line interface. So we have established a straightforward game market widget module, which allows us to generate some items for listing, aiding in our testing process. This module defines a simple widget structure and a main function for creating the new widget objects on the blockchain. Widget is a structure that represents a widget in the game market. It has a unique identifier here. And mint is a public function that creates a new widget object and transfer it to the sender of the transaction. The CDX parameter is just a mutable reference to the transaction context, which provides access to the transaction-related information, such as the sender's address. The object new function will create a new unique identifier for the widget, and the transfer function will transfer the widget to the sender. We also need to prepare some test code tokens for the process, and you should be able to get them since we have already covered in the previous lesson. Initially, we'll deploy the package using the following command: Sui client publish with the gas budget. And then you can set the package object ID as the environment variable for the convenience. The next step involves initializing the game market contract by invoking the create entry function. We need to provide it with a type argument to designate the type of the fungible token that this game market will accept. For simplicity, we'll just use the naive Sui token, and this can be achieved with the following command. After the command, you can export the market ID assigned to the game market share object ID for the convenience, and also for our later use. Then we will create a widget to be listed. So this is the call to create a widget, and you can preserve the object ID of the minted widget as an environment variable. Next, we'll add this item to our game market using this command. And two type arguments need to be provided here. The first one is the type of the item to be listed, and the second one is the type of the fungible token for payments. In the above example, the listing price is set to 1. And upon executing this transaction, you can view the newly created listing in the Sui Explorer. Then we'll separate a Sui token to the amount 1 to use as a payment object. You can use the Sui command line tool to view a list of the available Sui coin under your account and select one to split. After that, you can store the object ID of the newly split Sui coin with a balance of 1 as the environment variable. Okay, then let's purchase the item we just listed by using this command. So after submitting this transaction, you should see a lengthy list of transaction effects in the console. We can confirm that the widget is now owned by our address, and the payments table should now contain an entry with our address as the key and the size of 1. Lastly, we can collect our profits by invoking the take profits and key method by using this command. So this transaction will withdraw the balance from the payments table and reset its size to 0. You can confirm this on the Explorer. Finally, we'll do a 3-move exercise to consolidate our knowledge. This exercise will involve structure definition, ability usage, function implementation, and return values, etc. So firstly, you'll try to deploy those contracts onto the Sui blockchain and interact with it. Then you add a functionality to query the game items of the game market. You should be able to check out the reference of our exercise doc here. And that's the end of this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.